Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to the Coito Ergo Sum DLC crossover. We still have a lot to talk about with the think tank, but as much as I love their dialogue, the last episode was mostly conversation, so I want to actually do something this week. And since we were told there's an upgrade to the sonic emitter that lets us disable force fields, that's first on the agenda. Courier Jeff doesn't know exactly how much time that's going to save. Spoiler warning, it's a lot, but he'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Are lobotomites as perceptive as ghost people? Apparently not. Oh, they're not completely clueless either. How tough are they? One hit with the Enfield took down maybe a third of his health bar, so they're tough but manageable. And there's a Night Stalker, but believe it or not, the Animal Friend perk works on Night Stalkers, so that'll save us a bit of trouble in this DLC. That's gotta be a repeatable challenge, because I know I've used more than 100 stim packs in my life. Anyway, after we upgrade the emitter, we'll pick up the personality chip to activate the auto dock since it's next door to X8, and after that we'll play it by ear. My general plan is to work my way around the map counterclockwise since the personality chip for the sink is somewhere north of the dome, and in hardcore mode we'll want a convenient source of purified water before too long. One thing I forgot to mention last week, although it's probably obvious, is that the companion issue that let Kakata be teleported here with us also applies to any other companions in Coito Ergo Sum, like Handy or Fresca. I suspect it would also happen with Rondo and Leah during their escort mission, but I'd have to search my backups for an old save, and getting them from the strip to the drive-in would be torture, so I'm probably not going to. If you feel like testing it yourself, let me know what happens. I'm also going to do my best not to unlock map markers until I'm ready to explore them, just so it's easier to keep track of where I've already been. The Big Mountain World map isn't as big as Honest Hearts, but it's more densely packed with interesting locations, and I don't want to miss anything cool. Another thing I forgot to mention last week, I did finish Lucky Old Sun off-screen, like I said at the end of Honest Hearts. Since Lieutenant Haggerty, Ignacio, and Fantastic all posed for me, it was the least I could do. I was really tempted to activate Archimedes 2 because you can never have too many super weapons, but I ended up sending the power to the full region because it feels like the right thing to do. And that's what Ignacio wants. Even though my Followers of the Apocalypse rep was already maxed, they're the faction whose ethos I identify with more. I don't really trust the NCR, and I'm not a big fan of how they treat other factions, or sometimes even their own citizens, but as long as they don't interfere with my adult entertainment empire, we get along. And if that should ever change, maybe we can find some substitute super weapons here. And it looks like cyberdogs are not affected by the Animal Friend perk. Which is kind of weird because they still have dog brains, they just have mechanical legs and their bark is a sonic disruptor. But I guess Animal Friend is based on understanding animals' natural instincts and responses, and being cybernetic changes all that. Anyway, this is X8, where they did biomechanical splicing research, improving cyborg technology, cyberdogs, robo-brains, and presumably the think tank's own robotic bodies. Based on the testing part of the facility, it would seem they were particularly interested in using cyberdogs to sniff out communist infiltrators. Or maybe that was just Borous. There's a Mr. Handy. Why isn't it showing up on my compass? At this range, there it is.
My God! If I had hands, I would strangle the life out of you! For Queen and country!
Mr. Orderly Mark V. Bit tougher than your standard Mr. Handy. But not too bad. And there's the terminal to start the test. Test subjects tried to infiltrate a mock-up of a high school to test how effective various prototype defensive systems were. In the advanced test, they gave test subjects the sonic emitter to see how the mobile units responded when they couldn't use force fields to restrict the test subjects' movement and box them in. But we have to pass the basic test first before we can move up to that. Why a high school and not a government office or top secret research lab? Well, in a second, Borous is going to give us a pretty big hint.
Attention, students. This is the pre-recorded voice of your pre-recorded principal, Dr. Principal Borous. You may know me as the head chief first researcher of Labs Z9 and Z14. There I fought valiantly to preserve rattlesnake DNA and put it right where it belongs, in the husk of another feared predator. Oh, and the tarantula hook. Can't splice enough, I always say. Especially if you can make... Enough about me. It has come to my attention that many of you seemingly innocent children have been subverted by red propaganda. This is a most serious matter, requiring the most serious of detentions. Can you spell detention? I'll tell you how I spell it. Death-tension. Commie pinko traitors. Oh! Now, I will send vicious cybernetic cyborg dogs through the corridors to weed all you traitors out. They will sniff out which among you have chosen the commie path. Especially you, Betsy Bright, who turned me down to the high school dance so you could smoke with Richie Marcus. All monitors will also be vigilant. Step outside during class, and they'll make sure you make a speedy jump back to your desk. Hold your urine and wait for the proper bathroom break time.
So yeah, as the brains implied last week, Borous clearly has some unresolved issues from his youth. And these cyberdogs aren't too bad. The test doesn't say you have to sneak around them, you just have to retrieve the files. And apparently one ambushed me. No. Turret. Hall monitor. That's good. Anyway, the files are randomized, but it looks like we lucked out and there's one in the first terminal we found. Retrieve student records. Retrieve Richie Marcus midterm grades. All F- except one F double minus in science. Yeah, Borous did not have a high opinion of Richie. Now, there are at least 5 or 6 terminals scattered around the testing area, and like I said, which ones have the records we want are randomized each time you start the test. Other than the cyberdogs, which respawn, I'm not going to bother looting because we have to come back and do the advanced test to get the sonic emitter upgrade anyway. But I think I am going to switch over to that right now to conserve my 308 ammo. Even without any upgrades, it does bonus damage to robots, so it might be just what we need in here.
You are in the library. Be quiet here and filled with...
Of course. The second I switch over to the gun that's good against robots, I run into lobotomites. Who apparently can't use doors. That's odd. Well, I guess we're going to have to go open it. Against lobotomites, hollow points would probably be best. I know dogs can't open doors, but I'm surprised lobotomites can't. 2 of them, in fact. Perfect time for the kill cam to be slow. The patient gown outfit doesn't have underwear because, of course, the joke is that you wear one and your butt's hanging out. But as many times as I've had to use the digital blur for stuff added by Coito Ergo Sum, I think this is the first time I'll have to use it for combat with an unmodded enemy. 10mm SMG. With my damage threshold, that's not a big deal, but the one right outside the dome had a brush gun, and that's no joke, so I need to be a little bit careful with these guys. And it looks like the next file we need is right here. We've gotten pretty lucky with these so far. Go back to the sonic emitter before I forget. Retrieve student records. Sherry O'Bannon's schedule. Ballet, pep squad, tutoring center volunteer. Either Borous had a much higher opinion of Cherie than he did of Richie, or because he never mentions her out loud, I think he might have just invented her as his idea of what a perfect student should be. Cyberdog up there, but I can't disable force fields yet. Couple right there, though. Yep, I'd say that works pretty well against robots. The Protectron in the observation area can't get to us, and vice versa.
Down at the end of the hall is ball storage for jocks who like balls. Like Richie Marcus. Do you hear me, Betsy? Richie likes balls.
I just love that that's the maturity level of a world-famous scientist. And here's the last one. What's that a picture of? Can't tell. Cigarettes. Nah. Okay, well, now I gotta know. Cabin on the beach, maybe? I don't know if that's added by the DLC or if it's in the base game, and I just never noticed one before. Anyway. Retrieve Betsy Bright's records. 7 unexcused absences, 3 disruptive behaviors, and 11 times smoking on school property. And Borous does mention her about as frequently as he mentions Richie, and almost as unfavorably, but with more of a feeling that he just couldn't understand how she could like Richie more than she liked him. Well, apparently that one was just stunned. Anyway, now we just need to exit and do it one more time with the upgrade to disable force fields.
Oh my! You got to the residential test. This is really Borous, by the way. Hello again. None of us thought you would get this far.
Right. There's also a residential infiltration test, but I'm going to do the advanced institutional test first. Inside X12. Okay, I guess that's so you can get a Cyberdog gun even if you couldn't pass all the skill checks when you first met the brains or didn't bother trying. Oh, and there's a holographic schematic of it. Which makes sense. This is the cybernetics lab. But not a priority for me because I already got one, you see. Now, I think this is the backstage area you could see from the institutional test course, so there's at least one Protectron wandering around in here. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to loot the first time through. Well, I mostly didn't want to end up searching containers twice. If it's just laying out on a table like that, fine. Yeah, this is overlooking the library.
The residential test. Wasn't that shut down for some reason?
Yes, the terminal said they got a shipment of Night Stalkers instead of regular dogs.
Please clear the area until order has been restored.
I kind of expected the sonic emitter to deal with a basic Protectron even easier than the Cyberdogs, but apparently not.
Oh, yes! My pet, Gabe! I'd forgotten about the old boy and the countless experiments I'd done on him back at Higgs. Gabe? Gabe! You're about to have your favorite treat. A visitor. Won't that... Don't eat the visitor, boy. Don't, please. Gabe would bark and snarl and bite whenever anyone came to visit. That's why I replaced his legs with spare parts and fed him a steady diet of psycho-laced dog chow.
Okay. Apparently I got my stories mixed up. Gabe is definitely in the residential test area, but I thought the test was shut down because the Night Stalkers got loose. Anyway, let's go ahead and start the advanced version of the institutional test.
Attention, students! This is the pre-recorded voice of your pre-recorded principal, Dr. Principal Borous.
This terminal is locked and can't be hacked during the basic test, but now we can download EM Pulse Wave module. Sonic emitter EM Pulse Wave unlocked. The sonic emitter can disable force fields. Nice. And the note explains that even as the cybernetics lab was using it to test how well the cyberdogs adapted to a sophisticated infiltration attempt, the force field experts were working on a way to make their force fields resistant to EMPs. So now we just need to run through the test again to unlock the exit. And I will be looting this time, because now we can disable the force fields that have containers behind them. And that is a proton throwing axe. Nice for a melee weapon specialist. Not that great for Courier Jeff, but I'll take it as a souvenir.
Today, the cafeteria will be serving nothing, because I didn't build one. No cafeteria, no bathrooms, no swirlies, no chocolate pudding left in the chairs of brilliant minds. What are you going to do now, Richie Marcus?
One neat trick now that we can disable force fields, the turret upstairs is sitting on one. And we can shoot that cyberdog before we go up there. Okay, our objective isn't the exit, it's back here. I had been thinking about doing all of the X8 stuff while I was here, but in hardcore mode we're kind of racing against the clock until I get the autodock back online. If my dehydration gets too bad, I'll have to drink irradiated water, but the autodock can cure radiation poisoning. I could prioritize getting the sink online so I'd have free purified water, but its chip is pretty far away, while the autodock chip is right next door to X8. Plus, sleeping doesn't heal crippled limbs in hardcore mode, and I only have a couple doctor's bags. And you need a key to get into the kennel, but I'll probably leave all that until later. Great, another lobotomite upskirt. Sure, linger on it. Thank you. Oh my. Fallout 2 is my go-to counterexample when people say my mods don't match the tone of the Fallout franchise, but now I have a new one. And we level up. I try to avoid metagaming unless I'm doing a challenge run or something, but I noticed I was on track to come up just a bit short of straight 100s by the time I hit the level cap, which also happened to Lone Wanderer Jeff in Fallout 3, and it made me sad. So I broke out my cheat sheet from the Skills Dash series to see what books I might have missed for the 3 skills I haven't maxed yet: explosives, melee weapons, and unarmed. The bad news is there's one of each in Dead Money, and I missed them all. The good news is you can get one of each here, and ditto for Lonesome Road. Bottom line, since I only have 3 skills left that I can improve with books, I don't want any of them to hit 100 before I have a chance to collect said books. If I put 11 points in melee weapons and 6 points in unarmed, that'll level them out nicely. And this is a perk level, and for once I did think about it in advance. I'm going to take intense training and put it in endurance, which is actually worth 2 points because it'll let me buy the endurance implant when I get back to the Mojave. I have my current max of 7 implants right now, the 6 other special attributes, and the subdermal armor, which is a big part of why my damage threshold is so high even in street clothes. Anyway, where were we? We're going to complete the next objective in the X8 quest because it's right around the corner, and then go get the autodock chip. And that's a proton battle axe, not a throwing axe. Take it as a souvenir. Who knows, if my melee weapon skill gets to be halfway decent, I might actually use it someday. More lobotomites. In light of the large number of fatalities due to the latest shipment of experimental test subjects, the shipping department is going into lockdown. I give you my personal assurance that as soon as this plague of monsters has been dealt with, I will work overtime to get your deliveries to you in a timely and efficient manner. As I am the only surviving member of the shipping department, however, there may still be some delays. Until then, Dr. Callis in X13 has the pass card for the area. Skippy, sole survivor. Okay, sounds like we need to go to X13 before we can make any more progress here anyway. That is not the right map marker. Yeah, that's for X13. Set it back to collecting personality modules. All my friends have off switches. And that's, yeah, right over the hill here. More cigarettes. More cigarettes. I don't know if that's just a coincidence with random loot or if it's an intentional joke that all of the containers around the medical research facility have cigarettes. Robots.
For Queen and country!
Well, that's not doing
Why not
much.
let the robot deal with it?
Dr. Orderly MD. Switch to the Enfield with armor-piercing rounds. The sonic emitter does okay with lower-level robots, but I think this is a unique boss.
Do stand still!
Much better. The Mr. Orderly Mark Vs aren't a walk in the park either. All right. Anybody else? Doesn't look like it. Force field? No problem.
You have insulted my honor, and for that, you must die!
Okay, there is still somebody in here. Deal with that when it comes downstairs. Don't be like Anakin, kids. More cigarettes. Okay, that has to be an intentional joke. Drained microfusion cells. Yeah, it's literally every container. Looks like not all of the medical research subjects were willing. Not really a surprise. Holotape, patient log. We'll read that later. We do still have a hostile robot stalking us. Is that? Yes, that's a Brotherhood of Steel logo. Oh, I know what this is. That explains all the drained microfusion cells, too. This is our first clue that Elijah came here looking for technology to make his dreams of conquest come true, and Christine tracked him here. As we'll discover, a lot of the tech developed here was deployed in the Sierra Madre, and he eventually decided it would be easier to loot it there than here. And of course, he got trapped, and that's where we found him. And Christine, too, obviously. And that robot's got to be downstairs by now, so we'll be a little bit sneaky. We're in caution, not danger, so that's good. There it is. Yeah, this thing also stuns on critical hits, so sneak attacks, or if you get lucky, it's really effective.
Going dark!
And I'm not sure if that's just robots or any enemy. The bonus EMP damage is only robots and power armor, but I don't know about the stun effect. And here we have a stealth boy. Nice. And Christine's Circle of Steel recon armor. I won't be using it because it's too heavy, but good souvenir. And this is an auto dock just like the ones in the Sierra Madre Clinic. So she got worked on here in one, and then Dean put her in one there. No wonder she's claustrophobic. Well, there's a holotape. Ah, but it's not the personality chip, it's an upgrade. Implant C13. Lets the Autodoc give you a new implant, but it doesn't do much good if the Autodoc's not working. But the personality chip is in here somewhere. Well, that's not it either. Cosmetic enhancements. I think that lets the Autodoc give you a haircut, which I won't be using, but I know it's in here somewhere. There we go. Desk at the top of the stairs. Should have remembered that from the Skills Dash series. All right, I think it's safe to listen to that log now.
This is Christine Royce, Knight of the Brotherhood of Steel, the Circle. Not going to make it through this. Hope someone finds this message, gets it to the Brotherhood in the West. Tracked a rogue Brotherhood elder, Elijah, here to the Big Empty. Place is more than it seems. There's a crater hidden deep inside. Junkyard of pre-war labs scattered across the crater's surface, all still running, like this one. Elijah's dissecting these centers, one by one. Tracked him to an old Chinese-American internment camp. Survivors, ghouls, have bomb collars. Robots moved in when I tried to intercept him. Elijah sent the camp ghouls against us both, like walking bombs. Got hit by the explosions, woke up here. Guess the medical robots were programmed to bring wounded victims from the camp to this center. Some kind of autodoc prototype lab, manned by corpses trapped inside suits that keep them moving. No idea why. Not sure how long I'm going to last. Cut open my head like a lot of the humans I've seen here. Feel strange. Can talk, but can't hack the term. Wait, an explosion outside. Someone's here. Someone...
Good. Now Courier Jeff knows what I already knew. And the powered suits with corpses inside, well, I'm sure we'll be seeing them later. In fact, it looks like this terminal's going to explain a little bit about them. Okay, short version, the trauma harness was designed to walk wounded soldiers back to base for medical aid and fight if necessary, but the AI was twitchy and sometimes kept going even if the occupant was dead. And it also hinted that the Big Mountain executives used the Sierra Madre as a testbed for more than just the autodocs, some of which even Sinclair himself didn't know about. And we'll learn more about that later, I'm sure.
The Cazador Preserve and the Night Stalker splicing facilities are strangely quiet. Too quiet.
Yeah, I don't think I commented on it in X8, but his recorded greeting bragged about his DNA splicing research, not just the biomechanical experiments like cyberdogs. So now we've had multiple hints that he's responsible for creating Night Stalkers and Cazadores. Anyway, back to the dome to activate the autodoc. My dehydration's getting pretty bad. Any chance? No. It won't do anything until we find its personality chip. Although, good. There's some purified water on the shelf. That'll keep me going until we get the sink turned on. Like I say, in a pinch I can drink dirty water and cure my rads with the autodoc. Speaking of which, time to turn it on. Man, that still didn't take my thirst meter all the way down. One more. Now the autodoc.
Well, how about that? Old autodoc's back online. Well, all right, come here. Let's have a look at you.
Yes, when the brains called the activation tapes personality chips, they weren't kidding. And I can see where they'd annoy Klein, but I like them. Can you do anything beyond healing me?
Well, firstly, I would say providing wholeness of the body is service enough, but if you must know, I'm also programmed with cosmetical subroutines. Diagnostic says they're offline at the moment, though. Something about corrupted data files and all manner of such foolishness. If you want a haircut or a nose job that won't leave you looking like a ghoul with alopecia, you'll have to find replacement discs for them. Also, and I won't swear to this, but I recollect at some point having a few implant installation modules. Can't speak to where they got to, though.
I have those upgrades. Hold on.
Well, I'll be right here if you change your mind.
There we go.
You require some additional services?
Probably not. Just wanted to make sure the upgrades were installed. The psychiatric evaluation option lets you reset your traits, which I showed in the Skill Stash series, but I doubt Courier Jeff will use. Although, I might as well get a free heal and rad scrub while I'm here. I'd like to engage your services.
And rightly so, I should think. All right, then. Let me just fire up the old interface for you.
In fact, while we're in here, let's see if the menu tells us what that implant does. 10% bonus damage to cazadores. That's very tempting, but I don't know if the new implants in the DLC count against your total with Dr. Usanagi. I don't think they do, but I'm not getting it until I'm sure. Anyway, about that healing. All right, let's put away some souvenirs and figure out what we're doing next. I never noticed there were storage cabinets over the workbench and reloading bench. Lead, primers, so I might be able to reload some 308 if I find rifle powder. Good to know. Okay, I think the sync personality chip is the one closer to the dome, and biological research is the other one, which lets you grow food in the hydroponics room, by the way, so the designers definitely knew what would be top of mind for players in hardcore mode. But my hunger and thirst meters are okay for the minute, so I think I'm going to stick with the plan to search the crater counterclockwise, starting from X8. First up, the map marker we ignored on the way here. Z9 Crotalis DNA Preservation Lab. Oh, this is one of Borous' labs. Is it Night Stalkers or Cazadores? It is Night Stalkers. Okay, we're safe. Well, unless whatever put us in danger can come through that door. Looks like we're okay. All right, I think that's everything. That'd be a nightmare without the Animal Friend perk, but with it, it's just free loot. Now, there's another map marker straight ahead, and I don't see the medical research lab. That one's X8. So yeah, whatever it is, it's between two places we've already been. So we better go tag it, or I'll forget by the time we work our way completely around the crater. Boomtown Target Zone. Okay, I know what this is, but Courier Jeff doesn't, and we can't do anything with it until later anyway. And there's still a cyberdog chewing on my ass. Give me your energy cells. Anyway, there's another map marker over here, and it looks like it's close. That ruin right there, maybe. Hazmat testing ground. I'm actually not sure what this is. Well, it's radioactive, duh. There's something down there in a stasis pod or something. Take some Rad-X and have a look. Hazmat containment unit. Requires a security code. Want to bet? That looks uncomfortably like a ghost person. And of course that's because the hazmat suits they wear were developed here. Okay, there's the crashed rail car we saw from below. And there's X8. And those pylons are the perimeter fence the brains told us about last week. Not that one. Those. Ow. Who's shooting at me? Big Mountain East Tunnel.
Anyone who can understand these messages, you do not belong here. We will find you.
Man, the ones with SMGs don't hurt, but that proton axe is no joke. Unless I'm missing something, there's no interior to that tunnel. And it doesn't look like there's any way on top of it. I'm kind of surprised the perimeter warning isn't going off this close. Anyway, there's another map marker right here. Cazadores. Bastard. There it is. Bad news for you, pal. I'm immune to poison now. Ooh, you weren't counting on that, were you? Z14. Oh, no. This is the lab where Borous developed Cazadores. And we don't know what that means yet, but it seems to be painted on places that even the mysterious badass who left all the graffiti around thought were too dangerous to explore. Don't worry, we'll find out who it was before we leave Big Mountain. You know what? I am going to use this chemistry set. I'm not planning to ever come back here, so might as well get some stim packs out of it. Of course, I'll probably use them all before I leave. Let's see one already. Where'd it go? There it is. DNA Avenger perk. Studying the abominations created at Big Mountain has granted you a 10% damage bonus against Cazadores. Nice! Specimen 73. So you're the boss, huh? Not anymore. DNA Avenger perk rank increased. Additional 10% damage bonus against Cazadores. You know what? Even if this DLC sucked, it'd still be worth playing just for all the perks that make Cazadores less terrifying. Atomic Valence Tri-Radii Oscillator. Health regen and +1 endurance. Hell yeah! Okay, the holographic halo thing would go better with some kind of high-tech armor than my t-shirt and jeans, but if you haven't figured it out by now, I tend to be more about function than form. Microfusion cells. And I'm really low on 308, so I might actually use that laser rifle. That was an interesting physics glitch. Don't take my laser rifle! Sorry, pal, but I got no choice. Alright, the water situation is getting scary again, so as much as I wanted to clear this whole quadrant, I think I'm just going to check what that closest map marker is and then head straight for the sink chip. And don't forget to drink my last purified water. Yeah, it's not far. It's got to be that big building right there.
What terrors does Big Mountain hold for the intrepid seeker? Really? Does anyone know? I'm at a loss.
That was kind of meta. I think. Yes, that's the Securitron deconstruction plant. And I hate tagging a map marker without clearing the location, but the back of my mind is telling me that's a pretty big, complicated dungeon. And I really want to get that water chip, so yeah, I'm just going to head straight there. Any more? No? Good. We're really close. It's pretty much due north. I gotta say, the Forbidden Zone looks really ominous at night. I mean, Courier Jeff doesn't know that's the Forbidden Zone, but Mobius did say he was in another dome, and that's the only other dome we've seen. And, well, it looks like a Forbidden Zone. And we're right on top of the quest marker, so the water chip must be down in the canyon. Can I get down there without plummeting to my death? Or without getting stuck on the terrain? There we go. Magnetohydraulics Complex. Sounds like the place. Now if I can... Oh, shit! Okay, that was scary, but it worked. Now, get in here, pick up the chip, and back to the sink to install it. You know, that's kind of annoyingly confusing, but also funny, and it has to be intentional. The fact that your player home is called the Sink, and one of the AI devices in it, the literal sink, is also called the Sink. And this looks like a job for the rebreather. But they could have called the apartment something else, especially considering it's the penthouse, and if anything, you'd expect the sink to be at the bottom, where the brains live. So it had to be the game designers just messing with the player's head. Doesn't look like there are any enemies in here. And it looks like... yeah, there's the personality chip right there. So apparently I didn't need the rebreather. Yeah, still worth looking around for loot. Ah, hidden submerged room. That's got to be where the good stuff is, right? Waterlogged cigarettes. More cigarette. Drained energy cell. Nothing. Ammo and more soggy cigarettes. Nope. Just a drowning hazard for the overly curious.
Oh, God, look at you. You're filthy. I suppose you'll want to clean up then?
For a sink, you seem kind of worried about dirt. What's wrong?
Oh, it's just so unsanitary. Do you know how many germs are in 1 cubic centimeter of dirt? 70, 100, gajillion. Would you want that getting washed down your gullet day in and day out? I didn't think so.
I'd just like a drink, please.
You can have as much as you like. Just, please don't put your lips on the faucet. It's so unsanitary.
Now, I didn't get the usual drinking animation, but I think that completely zeroes your thirst meter. Yep, excellent.
You've been working with that biological research station, haven't you? I suppose you'll want to clean up.
No, I just came over to fill some of these empty bottles.
Oh, I'd love to, darling, but the circuits that allow me to dispense water into non-organic containers burned out years ago. You'd have to find a replacement for that module.
I'm okay. I'll talk to you later.
Come back anytime you want a drink, or to get clean.
I love how this points out the kind of ridiculous inability in the game to just fill a container with clean water, which is much more abundant in New Vegas than it was in Fallout 3. You know, if you're in hardcore mode, why can't you just take a bunch of empty Nuka bottles down to the Colorado River, fill them, and then drink it when you're out in the middle of the desert? But the bottom line is, once we get the upgrade chip, the sink can convert empty bottles to purified water. Now let's sleep and stash some souvenirs. Couple things I wanted to show you in the think tank before I wrap up. First, I realized there's another subtle clue that Mobius was human when he lived in the sink. Klein said Mobius made the personality chips, and Dala said Klein threw them off the balcony during an argument with Mobius, which is upstairs outside the sink. And Klein had to have arms to throw anything, which he doesn't now. And somebody said workers found them and stored them in facilities around the crater for safekeeping, which explains why they aren't just scattered around the base of the dome. But that probably wouldn't have been a top priority for the workers if they were all dying. And it was only after people started dying, whether of old age or radiation sickness from the Great War, I'm not sure, but that's when the 6 top scientists put their brains in robot bodies to save themselves. Which brings us to Mobius glasses, which I completely missed last week right here in his post-transplant pre-exile room. All of them brought a few reminders of their pre-cyborg days to their recharging chambers. In Mobius' case, the glasses and this picture of them all together. And something I noticed when I was editing the last episode, you see Dr. 8 is kind of balding and wears glasses? We know Klein and Mobius did too, but 8 was either the only one who really needed them all the time or wasn't too vain to wear them in a group photo. Back in Dala's room, she has a male mannequin handing flowers to a female mannequin, and the male mannequin has glasses and a hat. I don't know if that implies she had an affair with one of the other scientists, or maybe that she just wishes she did, and the glasses could represent Klein, Mobius, or 8, but you probably picked up from their dialogue that 8 and Dala are the two that seem to have, let's say, the most nostalgia for physical pleasure. And he's balding in Mobius' picture, which might explain the hat. I don't know. But given that virtually everything in this DLC is the way it is for a conscious reason, I'm sure it means something.
I can hear your penis-tipped feet tromping around.
And speaking of unrequited love, back in Borous' room, the message on the display case changes after you've done at least one iteration of the institutional infiltration test in X8. Vintage Lollipops magazine, pristine condition. The woman on the cover is presumably Betsy Bright, former high school classmate of Dr. Borous. The information in her interview might give you some insight into his thought process, but there's no way to access this copy. And even though you can't zoom because of the pacification field, if you crouch down and get really close, you can just see that the cover girl's name is indeed Betsy. So, she grew up to be a model, and I'm sure Borous and I have polar opposite opinions about how valid that was as a career choice. Now, you can talk to him about it at any point after you've seen the display case, but until you have all the clues, he just shuts you down. I do want to ask him about some other things, and get to know the other brains a little better too, but I think I'm going to call it a day, and we can talk to them next time. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.